Today's guest is routinely hailed as one of the most exciting American authors working today. Her award-winning, critically acclaimed books contain a mix of drunks and dropouts, misfits and murderers, pervs and pillheads, all of them loners. Her narrators are often angry, immoral and unpleasant, and they challenge our assumptions about femininity in uncomfortable ways. More than anything, though, they're all incredibly human. Her new book is called Death in Her Hands, another character at home alone, and it's just come out in French. I'd like to welcome Ottessa Moshfegh, who's going to start by reading from her new novel.
Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body. But there was no body, no blood stain, no tangle of hair caught on the coarse fallen branches, no red wool scarf, damp with morning dew festooned across the bushes. There was just that note on the ground, rustling at my feet in the soft May wind. I happened upon it on my dawn walk through the birch woods with my dog, Charlie.
Ottessa, thank you so much. Now, you've written about incarceration in some form in every novel. Your first book, McGlue, features a man in prison for murder. In Eileen, she feels imprisoned by her own body and her drunk father. She also works in a prison. In My Year of Rest and Relaxation, the narrator is so depressed that she believes her only way out is to drug herself asleep for a year. Do you see the protagonist in your new book, Vesta, as confined?
I do. I see her as a woman confined to her past and her definition of self. But in this book, I really wanted to focus on a character who is really making an attempt to take this last bit of life that she has left and find a way to bust out and be free.
Now, I've seen you referred to as the laureate of lockdown because of these themes of confinement and loneliness. But you actually wrote Death in Her Hands, first of all, in 2015, and My Year of Rest and Relaxation came out in 2018. So why do you think confinement is in all of your novels?
We are these spirits mysteriously placed in these mortal bodies. And, we still can't really understand how anything works. So there's the confinement of simply being in like one human life that I think, to me feels incongruous with how large the experience is, like all of the things that can happen internally, love, pain, confusion. And then, you look down or you look in the mirror and you're simply this body. So that to me is like an essential phenomenon. And I love stories about characters who are kind of confronting that mystery in sort of neurotic ways, because I think that's how we all deal with it. And in many ways, those neurotic ways of confronting these large concepts are what create our personalities and therefore our stories.
And I wanted to talk about dogs for a moment because Vesta's dog is a central character. In a very summarized fashion, the book is about walking a dog. It was comforting to have an animal so consistently near and needy to focus on, to nurture, just to have another heart beating in the room, alive energy like a child and protector, both. Now, why at this moment in time in the world, do you think, have dogs taken on such an important role in people's lives? Because I know you've got 4 dogs, haven't you?
I do. Yeah. COVID resulted in me doubling the number of dogs that I have. I just think they're really the best friends we could ever make. They are extremely loyal, comforting, protectors. There's something to be said about loneliness and the reliable comfort of love from an animal that depends on you. Having a dog gives you the opportunity to be kind, to be a parent, to be a child again. And it gives us a reason to go outside and think of the simple things. And it's a rewarding sort of labor of love because we get the love so tenfold back from the dogs that we care for.
And Ottessa, I wanted to talk about some of your earlier work. McGlue was your first book in 2014, a monologue by a drunken 19th century sailor accused of murdering his wealthy gay lover. You've actually said in previous interviews it was much better than Eileen, which was nominated for the Booker Prize. But that book, and the first book, wasn't commercial. You wrote Eileen as a way into the mainstream, a way to make a living, you've said. Eileen was an important book for you, wasn't it?
Oh, Eileen changed the game. I didn't realize I was a novelist until I wrote Eileen. Eileen was the novel that made me fall in love with the form as like a piece of artwork, as a literary challenge. I kind of just got hooked. And after Eileen, I was like, I just want to write more novels.
And it was an interview you did about Eileen that was written up in The Guardian that got you your legendary reputation as being self-confident. I wanted to ask you about that. Literary culture demands a personality test of women that few men have to take. What's that been like for you?
I know a lot of female novelists, and they're all super confident. It was maybe the moment where a personality of like female arrogance needed a place in literary media. So things from that Guardian interview kind of got spotlit to create this persona of the super confident female writer. But I don't think I'm very special in that way. I think maybe I'm less uncomfortable seeming arrogant, because I kind of don't. I'm not good at self-censorship. And I also find it really sad and boring when people who are supposed to be the experts at their artistic craft sort of demur and apologize for the thing that they've done so well.
And one of the things readers love you for is the unusual way you write about female physicality. Characters pick their nose, they touch part of themselves and smell their fingers, they go to the toilet. And why do you write about the body in such an intimate way? And do you think you're violating an unspoken social contract that other writers adhere to?
I like writing about the physicality because I don't know any living beings who don't have a physical body. So for me to understand a character, I really need to inhabit that body and know how it moves, how it responds to when it's being surprised. I need to know, its relationship to itself as a human. Does this character enjoy the body? Are there aches and pains? And yeah, there are normal primary functions of the body that I think should be included in a portrait. Everybody does these things in private that are actually so particular and so intimate. And I think literature is a place where we can get that intimate without having to humiliate an actor or, make anyone super uncomfortable or be indecent.
You're living in Pasadena in California with your husband and your 4 dogs. You've got another book called Lapvona coming out in June. During the pandemic, you seem to have survived with your productivity more or less intact. Do you think it's changed you these past couple of years?
I mean, yeah, I think how could it not change all of us, right? I think the 2 years have been like 10 years of maturing. And my new book, Lapvona, was an exploration of those new interests and a way into writing in a way that was, for me, broader. It's the first novel I wrote that's in the third person, so it isn't an interior monologue, and it covers a broad spectrum of characters' perspectives.
And at one point in your career, you actually renounced romance to concentrate on writing. Well, that's what I read anyway, until your husband, the novelist Luke Goebel, appeared at your door one day to interview you. I've actually read that interview. If you don't mind talking about it, it sounds kind of an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't always been sort of renounced to the idea that a writer has to work alone and that there's something you sacrifice for your art if you're going to be in a relationship. And I was totally right. I mean, you have to sacrifice something to be in a relationship. But when I met Luke, it kind of just twisted my outlook about my entire future. I knew I could not live without this man, and that he was going to change my life for the better and give me a chance to have experiences that I wouldn't otherwise have, so that I could also write about them and have a partner in this weird, lonely life of writing books.
And just before we go, I wanted to end with a painting that's been created by Issy Wood, who's been inspired by your story about alcoholic, morally repugnant characters in my new novel. It's part of a new series of publications entitled Picture Books. It's presenting novellas alongside artworks created in response to the text. Tell us about the image, the down payment.
I had written a story called My New Novel about a male novelist living in LA struggling to come up with his next big thing. And Issy Wood, whose paintings I love, really captured sort of dark interior wrestling of this character's psyche in a way that is both, I think, like understandable and also really funny.
Okay, Ottessa, we always end our programs with our guest's cultural pick of the moment. You've chosen the new movie Licorice Pizza. Why?
Well, first of all, it sounds delicious. I'm just joking. I'm a huge Paul Thomas Anderson fan. Licorice Pizza was a surprise. I did not know how much I was going to be refreshed and really taken aback by the story of these two young people sort of finding themselves. And it's beautifully, beautifully done. And the acting is just incredible.
Ottessa Moshfegh, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. We're out of time. Lapvona is out in June and Death in Her Hands is out in French now. Thanks for joining us.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Do you know who my girlfriend is?
Barbra Streisand?
Barbra Streisand.
Sand.
Sand, yeah, like sands. Like the ocean, like
Barbra
beaches.
Streisand?
No, like Streisand.
Sand.
Versailles, Mont Saint-Michel, the Louvre are well-known stars of French heritage. But French genius and France harbors many other hidden treasures. The arts, gastronomy, architecture, as well as nature's wonders. Come along with France 24. Discover France's living heritage. From young apprentices to accomplished craftsmen and farmers, to Michelin star sporting chefs. Meet these people whose passion for their professions preserve and drive French heritage.
You are here on France 24 and France24.com.
Тенденция государства российского в данный момент идет на сокрытие исторической правды.
The Gulag saw millions detained and tortured during decades until 1953. Though the repressions of Stalin may seem like a distant memory, historical truth is still a struggle.
Вот все, что осталось от двухэтажного дома, да, где мы планировали жить, после судебных разбирательств с сотрудниками полиции.
And in modern-day Russia, many live in fear of a state that silences all criticism.
Что было так в 21 век, пока вот самого не коснется, никогда никто не поверит.
Watch The Gulag Revisited on France 24 and France24.com.